Now, we all have gathered here tonight to honor 10 local brave hearts and real heroes. The people we honor tonight did not set out in search of this recognition. In fact, many of them are reluctant to be called brave or a hero. We need reminders that the actions of ordinary individuals can make a positive difference here in our community. As we ask each of them to come forward, we will direct your attention to the screens up here in the front and on either side of us. Iconostar Productions has created a compelling video of each honoree's story. We hope these stories inspire you. When a massive EF4 tornado struck Rainsville, Alabama, it may have been 1,000 miles away, but it struck a chord in the hearts of the members of the Trempealeau County Firemen's Association. Let's take a look at their story.
We had a firefighter that lost several family members down in Alabama due to the tornadoes.
We called our troops together, and some wanted to go to Alabama, like all firemen do, jump right in and help.
And some of the other ones, well, we can't get off work, but we can put an effort together and get water, food, clothing, whatever necessities were needed down in Alabama.
The support from the community was overwhelming. We ended up collecting 3 full semi-loads and shipping down there.
And I took it upon myself to contact the people in Alabama and the emergency government down there and find out where we could go to help out. This was a Sunday night, and by Tuesday we were on the road.
We took 3 trucks and trailers and everything to be self-sufficient.
We had firefighters from Oliva and Strum, Galesville, and as far away as Rushford, Minnesota, join us on our trip down to Alabama. We got down to Alabama at 6 o'clock in the morning. When we drove in, there was power lines down across the roads, roofs of houses laying in the roads and in the fields. They saw our trucks roll in and they were, who are these people? You know, they hadn't had any help yet.
They didn't really know quite what to think of us northern boys, but we said, we're here to work, put us to work. And they took that to heart, and they got us out in the areas that needed attention. We brought trailers full of chainsaws and plastic and staples and stuff, everything to do to try to reconstruct what we could and save what we could from the tornado. We've been through this a little bit in our own area and done some other work in other areas like this, so we kind of knew what we were getting into, and it was pretty much just what we expected, only total devastation. I
had been through floods and some tornadoes before. I've seen destruction, nothing to this magnitude. It was 125 miles long and 2 miles wide. It was unbelievable.
Whatever we could do is what we did.
Debris removal, patched roofs, made the dwellings so they were habitable.
Just hand tools, strong backs, cleaning up, saving people's supplies, trying to cover roofs.
I think we ended up helping like 18 different families through the 2 days that we were down there.
There's a picture in our file of Harold Smith and his wife sitting in front of a pup tent in 2 chairs, and their house is completely gone. We come up and asked him if we could help him, and he said, well, do what you think is right, you know, because I'm really not sure what we should do. So I assigned the guys 3 different crews, 3 different areas, and they started working, and he picked up the telephone and he called somebody, and I couldn't figure out who it was. And Harold's talking, and he says, son, he says, this is Dad. He says, you're not going to believe this. He said, there's 20 firemen from up in Wisconsin here, and they're going like beavers everywhere, taking care of stuff. And then I heard him respond. He says, son, I think the war really is over. Then came Alabama and took her by the hand. Well, I think anybody that's a volunteer fireman is committed to their community or their neighbor, so to speak. And what we did in this event, we stretched our neighborhood a little bit. I think that's what volunteer firemen, first responders, EMS people are all about. That's why we do what we do, not for the money, but so you can help and make a difference.
They are very thankful for the help of the American Red Cross through the years.
We see them down there. I've seen them at the floods in Minnesota when we were down there, and the Red Cross was there for us, feeding us, pointing us in the right directions, and we're very familiar with them and work well with them.
The award for their efforts came as a surprise.
Oh, we're pretty proud, pretty surprised. We didn't do it for an award.
It's just something that our guys want to do. We can get 20 guys together in a snap of a finger and to go help people. It's just the way people are here in Wisconsin.
We did it because we care.
Here to accept the Fire and Rescue Brave Hearts Award is Chief Nels Gunderson and Assistant Chief Mike Hallam. Presenting this year's award on behalf of United Bank is Stacy Corker.
Most of us have never been awoke by a middle-of-the-night phone call to fight a fire in sub-zero temperatures. We haven't had to leave in the middle of our children's extracurricular events to extricate someone from a mangled vehicle on the interstate. But for firefighters, EMTs, and other emergency response personnel, those calls are part of their everyday lives. They don't think twice before dropping whatever they are doing and racing to the scene. Their dedication is truly admirable. But what's even more admirable is when those doing these jobs are volunteers. In the Osseo area, we are very fortunate to have a volunteer fire department that is second to none. In addition to the many fire calls the department receives, Osceo's proximity to I-94 and Highways 10 and 53 greatly increases the amount of calls that they respond to each and every year. Yet fighting fires and responding to crashes isn't all they do. It doesn't matter who needs help, even if those in need are miles away in Rainsville, Alabama. Operation Rainsville, Alabama is just one of many examples of the selfless dedication members of the department hold. It doesn't matter where or when or for whom the call comes in. They are there ready, willing, and able. For a small community like Osseo, our volunteer fire department is an asset that you just cannot put a price tag on. Before presenting to these two gentlemen, I would like all members of the Osseo Fire Department and the other fire departments that assisted in Operation Rainsville, Alabama to please stand and be recognized. And I can say that on behalf of United Bank and all other businesses and individual families in the Osseo area, we are ecstatic that we've got such a wonderful volunteer fire department, and our town and our communities are just that much better for having them. So it's my great honor and privilege to present this award to Fire Chief Nels Gunderson and Assistant Fire Chief Mike Hallam, who are accepting on behalf of their department, as well as all of the other volunteers that help them in this effort.
On a dark summer night, the last thing Julie Bender expected was to dive into the Chippewa River. This story demonstrates the goodness and perseverance of our neighbors.
My husband and I decided to spend the evening at my father's, and he lives on the Chippewa River, and we were sitting out back on the screened-in porch just facing the water, and we had heard a boat coming along, and three of us at the same time said we thought it was going, a little fast for as dark as it was out. And the next thing you knew, we heard the crash, and growing up on the river, I knew exactly what that was. So we all ran to the water to see, what had happened, to see if we could help out at all, and ended up calling 911 right then, and heard screams from the water, so I made sure the ambulance was on the way, and I was ready to jump in the water, and my husband, bless his heart, put a life jacket on me first, and then I jumped in and tried to see what I could do to help. And well, it was dark, so it was hard to know, what was where, who was where. There was cushions floating. I wasn't sure if, what I was seeing.
As Julie swam farther from shore in the darkness, she eventually came across two gentlemen in the water.
Yeah, I ended up with the help of my father's neighbor with a pontoon, brought us closer to shore, and then we swam closer to the dock, my dad's neighbor's dock. I asked the one if he was able to swim, and he said he couldn't feel his legs, so I just had him hang on to the back of my life jacket as we got closer to the dock, and then helped him get up onto the dock. And he saw he had a visible cut over his eye, and kind of washed that out, helped him wash that out with the river water. Trying to believe what everybody's telling me, that that's a very heroic act, and I just see it as I went swimming to see what I could do. That's basically how I view it, so.
Here to present this year's Adult Good Samaritan Award is Liz Wolf-Green on behalf of Excel Energy.
Wow, what an amazing story, but a heart-wrenching one. The boat collision of July 22nd, 2011 was a horrific accident. Lives were lost, and even more lives were destroyed. But had it not been for the heroic efforts of Julie Bender, even more lives could have been lost. Julie will tell you that she did what anyone would do. But let me tell you, your selfless courage during what appears to be a very chaotic situation is something that we all admire, and it's something special. And Julie, you are a true measure of a hero. And on behalf of Excel Energy, I'm honored and pleased to present you with this year's Adult Good Samaritan Award. Congratulations.
Time, commitment, dedication, and care for others. These are just a few words that describe our 2012 physician, Braveheart.
Well, I'm Lee Meyer, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon at Mayo Health System here in Eau Claire. Probably about 6 years ago, I became quite a bit more interested and actually active in going to the track and learning more about how they perform at that level safely.
This experience increased his knowledge about how to handle a car more safely.
You just learn so much more about driving cars, what they can do, the physics of it, and the geometry of driving on the road, and it changes how you look at driving in town or on the streets.
His professional background in trauma and orthopedics motivated Dr. Meyer to lead an effort to reduce teen traffic crashes.
It's amazing how many of the accidents aren't because of the accident, it's because of how people either overreacted or mishandled the car that led to the severity of the accident, which either led to a death or led to a major injury that really probably didn't have to be that severe.
The Chippewa Valley Technical College of Eau Claire already had facilities for teaching car control classes to law enforcement, and they agreed to provide them for a new class aimed at teens and adults.
So other groups actually charge $350 to $450 for a day of this kind of training. We do it for $30. Mostly because I've spent time talking with people who have the same passion I do and are willing to do this on a volunteer basis to change somebody's life.
Dr. Meyer is quick to give credit to people at Chippewa Valley Technical College, Mayo Clinic Health System in Eau Claire, and the Chippewa Valley Sports Car Club, among others, for making the car control class for teens a reality.
I'm just one small part of the group and a sphere that's kind of found the right energy, and all these people have supported it. What the adults and the teen drivers get now are lectures out on the track with coaches and experts, putting them in situations where their car will do things that they'll experience during an emergency situation on the road, but they're in a controlled setting where they won't lose control and have an accident. They'll lose control in a safe place and learn what happens to the car and what it can do and recover rather than end up in a catastrophic event. Even these teenage kids and their parents are talking more, and they'll both say, we haven't talked this much in ages, but they're both excited over something. One teenage driver dies every 3.5 days. That's an impressive statistic. 15% of all licensed 16-year-olds will crash in this year. 20 and older, 4%. So that first couple years of driving are so crucial to try to get them the feeling and the experience to hopefully cut that number way down and save lives.
Parent involvement is crucial to the success of the program.
The parents get to watch their kids in the car, and it's pretty impressive. And then by the end of the day, we actually put the parent in the car with the teen driver, and it's a lot of fun to see that all happen. And there's a wet skid pad where we can have them lose control and see what that's like, wet or dry. Doing emergency lane changes where the car will toss 1 or 2 lanes all the way one way, and they'll get to experience how not to panic because the car will come back for them. I feel humble. I'm not doing this to be rewarded. My reward is seeing the kids and the parents and hopefully changing those lives.
Accepting the award on behalf of Dr. Meyer is Wayne Street, and presenting the award on behalf of the Mayo Clinic Health System is Linda Soltis-Schrader from the American Red Cross.
Wow, that's truly an amazing video. I was an emergency medical technician for approximately 20 years, and during that time I had many occasion to be working with these young people who, through their lack of knowledge, their inexperience, were involved in or caused a serious accident. I can tell you that when this happens to a young person, it changes not only their life, it changes the lives of their family, their friends, and sometimes even the whole community. It can lead to injury, disability, permanent disability, and even death. And not just to the driver, but to their friends or family members that are with them. So I just think it's an amazing thing that Dr. Meyer does to teach these youth and help them drive safely. And it's a good thing for our community, for their families, their friends, and for themselves, so that they can live a fulfilling, a full life and productive life. So thank you very much.
Lee wanted me to share that this is a project that required community effort. And with us today is Jeff, the crazy driver instructor that teaches us how to put cars in and out of skids and things I never thought were possible to do. Judy, who is in charge of part of the section of CVTC to their driving course that we abuse on a regular basis. And then Steve and Rex are here tonight from the local autocross club, where if we didn't have individual instructors for individual drivers, it would never happen safely. So thank you very much.
We do have an acceptance speech from Dr. Meyer that we'd like to play. Again, Dr. Meyer is our 2012 physician, Braveheart.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Lee Meyer. I work as an orthopedic surgeon at Mayo Clinic Health Systems in Eau Claire, and I'm very honored to be here this evening talking to you about the award that you have been gracious enough to extend to me, along with many others in the Chippewa Valley. Having said that, I'm also very humbled. The teen car control class that I had an idea to bring here was not my idea entirely. I brought that from other areas around the Midwest that I was involved with and taught. And we had facilities and people here in Eau Claire to be able to pull this off. And I was fortunate enough to be part of an organization at Mayo Clinic Health System in Eau Claire who felt strongly about community and taking care of those in our community. And this time it's teen drivers and trying to save lives that we see injured and dying in our trauma program. Along with that, our Chippewa Valley Technical School has facilities in teaching emergency services, transportation, and law enforcement how to handle their vehicles and drive, and the knowledge base and facilities are here. Those two organizations and the leaders and pillars in both of those organizations took to the idea of me bringing forward possibly this car control and teen car control here in Eau Claire and the Chippewa Valley. Having done that, Both organizations then put forward individuals to help bring this about and have it happen, which is now 2 years ago. And two people I have to sincerely thank from Chippewa Valley Technical School would be Judy Anibis, the dean out in the Transportation and Emergency Services area, as well as Jeff Pettis. And then from the Mayo Clinic Health System Eau Claire site, Beth Blackburn in our corporate communications and Wayne Street from our trauma program have been extremely instrumental in pulling this program off. There is so much that needs to happen behind the scenes to make that day work well in program development, facilities development, and also organization of that day and how to get people registered and have it come off safely and in a controlled environment. So having said all of that, this started 2 years ago, and I'm extremely proud of it, passionate about it, to see the teen drivers change in their viewpoint about driving and the excitement they see as well as their parents is very rewarding for anybody who's in and near the program. So again, thank you. This really helps bring that awareness forward. I feel I am accepting this award not for me but for all those who help out. The Chippewa Valley Sports Car Club has stepped up to create volunteers and have gone through train the trainer programs and have really helped develop the passion for this in the community, and this will continue year after year due to all the people who have become involved. So thank you again, and you should feel good about helping bring this awareness forward, and I hope your child is able to participate sometime. Thank you.
Congratulations again to Dr. Meyer. It was a perfect day for fishing. There were clear skies, calm water, but it was interrupted by a man overboard. Jeff didn't know on this average day that he'd be saving the life of his friend. His quick thinking and persistence brings us this story.
Called the Field of Dreams Disabled Hunt Program. I started it back in 2006. It stemmed from learning that the state of Wisconsin offers a 9-day gun deer season in October for individuals with disabilities. We raise money because my basis to the program is I want it to be at little or no cost to any of the participants, because most of them don't have a lot. And we have individuals with MS, cerebral palsy, bilateral amputees. Some of the individuals would text me 25, 30 times a day. They're so excited to go and do this. The Field of Dreams is not a vehicle in itself. That's just a name. We do belong to and are sponsored by the Rice Lake Rod and Gun Club. Obviously, we were up in Canada on a fishing trip. We had 2 different participants up there, so we had 2 boats. Gene and I are in the boat, and I've got his wheelchair, brakes locked, his front wheels trucked, bumper behind the back wheel, so he can't move. And so we're out here fishing, and it was a beautiful day. It was sunny and warm, and against my better judgment, Gene asked me if he could take his life vest off. He was just sweating, I could see, and I hated to be mean, so I'm like, well, all right. We were parked, we were anchored there, it was not wavy at all, so I thought, okay. And I still, to this day, I've asked Gene, and he doesn't know either, what really took place. I reeled in my line, and I was just turning around to look toward Gene where he was sitting in the front of the boat, and his chair was rolling to the side of the boat. And when his chair hit the side of the boat, he shot out of his chair like a cannon. Boom, gone. There he was, gone. And we were in 12, 15 feet of water. And so I ran over there and looked down, and he was down. I could see arms flailing, and I've had people ask me, how did you know what to do? And you don't think. It's just reaction. Just dove in, grabbed him by the back of his collar, and just pushed as hard as I could. He went up and I went down, so I swam back up, and I don't know if it was 2 or 3 times I had to do that, and we popped out. Thank God we had the boat anchored, so the boat was only 10 feet from us. And so I just grabbed him, by the collar, and I just swam him back to the boat, and there we both sat. because it was, you know, he was expiring water, and I just kept reassuring him. I'm like, Gene, don't worry, we're good, you know, you're not gonna die, you're fine, you know, we're at the boat, and nobody's in the boat, and two of us are out. We're in the middle of nowhere. The other boat was on the same water. They saw me jump in. I mean, we have just a little motor, so it took them a while to get there, but, and then we couldn't get him in the boat, not in the deep water, and we just motored real slow. We held on to Gene because he was still in the lake. We couldn't pull him up. And when we got to, you know, 1.5 feet of water where we could physically stand there on shore, and we just lifted him, two of us lifted him from beneath, and very thankful we had others there, because I don't know what I would have done if it had been just Gene and I. So, and thankfully, I have my whole life been a very strong swimmer. Love the water, not afraid to, you know, dive down 12, 15 feet. I mean, I'm humbled by the award, I truly am, but I look at myself and go, I'm just the average guy that was in a situation that I did, I think, what anybody else would have done, and yeah.
Here to present this year's Community Hero Award is Jerry Bauer from Bauer Built.
You know, I just met Jeff this evening for the first time, and what he said there at the end, that he's just an average guy, is what an understatement. What he did to save his friend's life is incredible. But beyond that, his Field of Dreams program they talked about, where he takes disabled friends and other people, takes them hunting and fishing, and spends his time and donates his time and his friends, is just incredible. Truly a community hero. So on behalf of Bauer Built, I'd like to congratulate Jeff. Outstanding job.
For those of you that know me, I can get kind of windy, so I purposely didn't create a speech for tonight. So real quickly, I'd like to thank the Lord for granting me the courage and the strength to do what needed to be done that day. I am very humbled and honored by this, because I do believe I just did what needed to be done and anybody else would have done. So, and finally, my wife, I'd like to thank Stephanie, my wife, for putting up with all the time and effort, the hundreds of hours that I devote to this program every year, and she's 100% behind me, so thank you, honey.
Our next winner is dedicated to her profession on and off the clock. Our 2012 Healthcare Braveheart shows us the true meaning of being a member of a community.
I knew very young that I wanted to be in the medical field doing something. And our local hospital certainly had volunteers, and they had candy stripers, and I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and that was the thing to do. Second year out of college, basically, I had just worked at a VA hospital for a year, and all the veterans said, you should join the Air Force. It seemed like a great opportunity, and it was.
After leaving the service, Mary and her husband moved to Eau Claire. She worked in dialysis at Luther Hospital for 5 years while earning a master's degree as a nurse practitioner.
After I had gotten that degree, I started looking around for a position. Basically, Sacred Heart Hospital recruited me to come start their dialysis service, and that was in 1997-98. We started with just a few patients, one nurse and me and one tech, and we've grown from that to our unit now with, I supervise 25 people, and we have also a unit in Chippewa Falls at St. Joseph's Hospital. You know, when I first got into dialysis, I thought to myself, I don't know if I can do this forever, and of course, after a few years, I'm a lifer, and I found that it's really a very nice little niche of nursing where you take care of the same people, you know, week after week and get to know them and that's very rewarding. You really get to be kind of a family with them. Everyone's on a first name basis. I think I really enjoy it.
Mary began volunteering at the Chippewa Valley Free Clinic to gain experience as a nurse practitioner, but she felt a commitment to continue volunteering there.
It really seemed to be something that I needed to do. These people are, they just have nothing, and they really need people to take care of them. So with the colleges in town, I've been really fortunate to develop relationships with the instructors, and in my dialysis units, we take their students. I love having students. I think if we can offer them a place to have their clinical and they can learn what goes on in nursing, everyone benefits. I've always enjoyed teaching. Since I do enjoy it, I think it's important to be that role model for new nurses and new nurse practitioners coming out of school. The skit, yes. Unfortunately, they found me out that I am able to write skits, and it's kind of a little creative thing I have on the side. I'll take a song and change the words to fit the event or whatever, and some of those have been pretty amusing over the years, at Sacred Heart in particular. The Lord called me to go on some medical mission trips, and the first one was to Honduras, and the second one was to Nicaragua. Fortunately, my husband was very loving and caring and let me go, and he stayed with the children for these 2 trips. When you see the poverty and just what's going on in a third world country, how can you turn your back? This is a great honor. I was very surprised to be nominated. I don't think of myself as a Braveheart, just somebody who works hard and does what I'm supposed to do.
Here to present this year's Healthcare Braveheart Award on behalf of Festival Foods is Elaine Wendt from the American Red Cross.
After hearing all that and reading your Vita, I'm really sorry I only got to know you when you were a graduate student at the university. But I knew then that she was quite the person and very dedicated to the community. To think of starting your connection to the community at 16 and continuing that on through volunteering with the military, volunteering with the community clinic. And as a former dean, I'm very grateful for what you've been able to do with our students at the university as well as at the technical school. I think for our students to recognize someone who is so connected as a professional and as a person to the community and giving of themselves, it's just a wonderful thing to do. So I am very pleased to present you with this award.
Well, first of all, how about that candy striper outfit? I should take that to the Antiques Roadshow. And I'm really glad I didn't have a picture of me wearing it. My husband, Jim, who's right over there, is also a nurse, and we've been married almost 25 years, and his mother was a nurse, and his 2 sisters were nurses, and his brother is a nurse, his aunt was a nurse, and his grandmother was a nurse, and everyone on my side of the family, they're all engineers. So, go figure. I'd like to express my thanks to the Red Cross for this honor, and I'd also like to extend my congratulations to all the other winners tonight. The stories have been fabulous. I'd like to just leave you here tonight with what I consider to be an important verse from the Bible. It's in the first book of Peter, chapter 4, verse 10, and it reads, God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. Thank you very much.
When Faleesha Dickson heard the fire alarm in her home, she didn't pause, hesitate, or wait for another sign. She just got her siblings out of harm's way. Let's take a look at her story.
Me and my friend Alea were sitting there listening to music on my mom's computer, and then all of a sudden I smelled something and I was like, Alea, something's burning, and then she went into the kitchen, and then all of a sudden the fire alarms went off and the lights went out. Alea woke Shakira up, and I ran upstairs to save the twins, and they were both sleeping. They were buried underneath blankets because it was cold. I carried both of them down the stairs. It was kind of heavy for me. It was like, because they each weigh like about 30 pounds each, so it was around 60 pounds. It was snowing, very cold. I was dressed in shorts and a tank top. And then we walked up to my Aunt Laura's house, and we got a ride from there. No, I just was more worried about my sisters than anything else.
I'm very proud of her, very.
As the family became homeless, Faleesha's dad was serving overseas and did not know about the house fire.
I called the American Red Cross to send out a message to him. They contacted him through the chain of command, and he called. They were extremely helpful. They helped put me and the kids up in the hotel for a few nights. They gave us a gift card to get some clothes and stuff and necessities that we needed. So they were very, very helpful, and I'm thankful for all their help.
The family is proud of Faleesha's heroic actions.
I'm very, very proud of the American Red Cross for giving this to my daughter, her heroism.
I feel really good.
Here to present this year's Youth Good Samaritan Award on behalf of Foremost Farms is Chris Gutch from Marshfield Clinic.
In the 9 years I've been coming here, I say this every year, but I just cannot say it again, how proud I am to live in the communities that we do. You look around here tonight and all the recipients, and we are humbled for their humbleness in receiving all of their awards. And I think this story that we saw just here, I think we need to recognize who's putting on this event is the Red Cross. We are very, very blessed to have the Red Cross very active and a huge volunteer community that assists the Red Cross in providing these services. And so I think we should give the Red Cross a round of applause tonight first. And as we've also heard from most of the people, that they are humbled and they don't see themselves as a brave heart. But to all of you out here tonight, you have a really big heart, and for that we appreciate it. And what's fun about giving the Youth Award tonight is that kids don't really see themselves as heroes. As Faye Dyke said, they see heroes as, was it Superman and Wonder Woman? That's dating us. We got to go to, I don't know what it is. Help me out. What's the latest cartoons here? I don't know what it is. But Faleesha, we are proud to have you as part of our community, and I think you should feel proud being a mentor and a leader and showing all of your other fellow students in all of the schools around here that you are a real hero and a brave heart, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Teaching disaster education in elementary schools, maintaining a national emergency response vehicle, responding to disasters in Eau Claire and Sawyer counties, and taking the call to respond to disasters across the country. That's all in a day's work for our 2012 Red Cross Brave Hearts. They demonstrate the heart of the American Red Cross.
Robert and Carol Hauser are a husband and wife team who have found volunteering for the Red Cross to be a satisfactory way to spend their retirement.
Katrina motivated us to become volunteers because we thought we could bring our experience, talent, and skills, being retired educators, to helping the Red Cross's help and hope, and we thought we could help deliver that.
Robert is involved with the Emergency Response Vehicle, or ERV.
I do some scheduling for that, and I'm an ERV driver. Of course, we do the damage assessment type of things and client service activities.
Updating the vendor list for the disaster action team.
We also go around and we have located possible shelters throughout the area. The most involvement that we probably have is on the disaster action team, the DAT team, where we respond to local emergencies.
In addition to local emergencies, Robert and Carol have traveled around the country, helping people in the aftermath of disasters such as flooding in New Jersey and Kentucky and hurricanes in Louisiana.
We went to Baton Rouge, and that was a community of 770,000 people who had been without electricity for quite a few days when we got there, and it was predicted they'd be without electricity for many weeks to come. Many people had been evacuated, people had been flooded, and there was all kinds of wind damage. The other one that comes to mind is Paducah, and that's one of the many floods that happened. Some of the people were just getting back into their homes that day or a couple days after, so that meant water had been sitting in their homes for almost 3 to 4 weeks, and that was just devastating. We saw a trailer that had been totally covered with water.
I guess you can feel the the sadness that goes along with it. Most of the people in the flood have lost everything. Most times they've lost all their clothing, food, and they're living somewhere else, and it's a pretty difficult situation.
Carol also teaches school children about disaster safety and preparedness.
The program that we have is called Masters of Disaster, and I go into the classroom with presentations about home safety, fire safety, tornado and lightning safety, or flood safety. And I get to present to the children ways of being aware of potential disasters, being prepared to handle them in some capacity, and then to have a plan with their parents, such as making a kit and having a place to. Lots of children are left alone by themselves for some amount of time, and this gives the children an opportunity to think about situations and hopefully make good, safe choices.
In accepting their award, Robert and Carol do not consider themselves heroes.
I'd consider ourselves hard-working go-getters, or maybe even a little pushy, but not really heroes.
I volunteer not because of fame or fortune, but it's because it's something we can do to maybe help someone else.
Here to present this year's Red Cross Brave Hearts Award is Tracy Nelson, the 2011 Red Cross Brave Heart.
Good evening. I've had the chance to actually work with these two on quite a few occasions. I remember Arcadia. They were one of the first ones down there, and it was very, very, very cold that evening. And they were there. They are there for everybody. Everybody in this room is a hero, no matter how you look at it. But these two haven't actually gone into a building to save a life. But Carol's in the schools helping kids to understand, how to be safe, how to plan, how to prepare themselves and their family for emergencies. And I think that is just as important as any other role. And Bob is always working on our ERVs, or our emergency response vehicles, helping to make sure that they're safe, that our volunteers are safe. No matter time or day, they are there. Usually I'm one of the first ones to the office, but these two are pretty good at getting there pretty quick too. But it's been a very, very, very big joy to work with them, very knowledgeable. Their hearts are set with the Red Cross, and they're determined to make the world a better place. So I'm very, very honored to be able to give this award to them, and also to be a fellow volunteer with them, because like I said, their heart is in the Red Cross, and they're very, very deserving of this award. So I thank them and hope to see them on many more occasions, whether in the office or out in the field. It is so great to be able to work with you guys. So congratulations.
Do I have to let her talk?
I do want to thank you for this award, but I feel we represent the hardworking volunteers and people in our chapter. I feel very fortunate and lucky to be working with the Program Masters of Disaster, one of the Red Cross programs for safety for children. I've been able to change my career of teaching into my hobby. I feel very fortunate to go into classrooms from Washburn to Arcadia and teach the students how to be aware, prepared, and have a plan with their parents on how to be safe. And I want to thank the volunteers and people at our chapter that helped me get ready for these presentations. As a team, we work well on deployments and assignments. I do the talking and the rambling on, and he makes the big picture decisions. So I'll let him have the last word.
I don't know if I should worry about her standing behind me or not. I'd like to just congratulate all the honorees tonight because they did a phenomenal job. I'd also like to thank all the volunteers that are serving on duty tonight. They aren't here, but they're out there on the DAT. Every day there's a disaster, and every day the Red Cross is there. So if you're just venturing into volunteerism, I would say a good place to start would be the Red Cross. And you can actually be older to do that. Thank you very much for the award, and thank you to the sponsors who brought this very nice banquet. Thank you.
Pat Brauner and Trooper Craig Larson may say they were just doing their job, but it was not a typical day at the office. Let's take a look at their heroic tale.
On December 26th, I was called to respond to a vehicle in the median. Unknown injuries. At that point, it was just west of Black River Falls, a few miles. It was a cold night. As I walked down through the median, noticed that, the tire tracks going in the ditch, they were sitting on top of the snow as a light car. Seeing two female in their 30s in the front seats, and then 3 small children in the back seat. Just to make sure they're okay, when I got down there, I talked to each of them, got responses from each of the children that were sitting in the back seat. Basically talked to the mother to make sure everything was okay, what she wanted for a tow truck, went back up and contacted one so we could get them safely back on the road.
We were called out to Winchicaro, the median, on I-94. I showed up on scene, went down through the deep snow to the car, talked to the lady for a moment, so we proceeded to pull the car up to the top of the bank.
Just like normal, he hooks up and pulls them out.
I went back, knocked on the window. The lady appeared to be having some kind of a problem or being unconscious in the car. I then hollered for the state trooper who was on scene.
I guess I heard something. I looked up and hear the tow truck operators yelling at me, "We need an ambulance, something's going on in the vehicle."
The snow was so deep on the driver's side of the car that I couldn't open the door. So I run around to the passenger side of the car, opened up the door, and there was another person that I hadn't seen in the front seat. I pulled her out, put her in the snowbank. The trooper was coming back to the car at the time.
And once I got closer, because I couldn't see anybody in there, it was filled with a lot of smoke. Seeing a passenger, the front seat passenger, laying against the window, foaming at the mouth.
First attention was to the children, trying to get them to start breathing.
And so as I pulled the children out, I started working on them immediately because they didn't have any motion, and started working through CPR on both of them. As they started crying, I just kept going to the next one, and Pat Brauner asked me several times what to do with his passenger.
He instructed me how to do chest compressions, and I started doing that. She started to come around.
The driver was conscious. We got the window rolled down her head prop for some fresh air, knowing between us as we're pulling him out that it was carbon monoxide, and we had to get him out.
Then the lady that I pulled out originally, she started foaming at the mouth, and she was clenching her teeth.
We were able to get the driver out and talk with her, calm her down, tell her kids were all right, and was able to pass everything off to the ambulance and get the vehicle out of the ditch finally then.
No, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never had anything like that happen before. The people were driving a car with a faulty exhaust system. We found that out after we pulled the car out of the ditch. We lifted it up and seen there was no exhaust underneath the car. We've initiated a new policy at our shop that in the wintertime, if you're going to sit in the car, you're going to roll the window down. Or if you don't like that idea, you're going to go sit in the tow truck until we get the car winched out of the ditch.
I was just out there doing my job. I'm glad everybody walked away, and they were released the next day, I know, from the hospital, so it sounded like everything was okay.
For Trooper Larson, learning CPR is something everyone should learn how to do.
I think everybody should go through the course and be able to do it, just in case. You never know that you could be a helping hand and help somebody save a life.
Here to present both the Adult Good Samaritan and the Law Enforcement Braveheart Award is Tess Morgan from Clear Channel.
Thank you. Clear Channel Eau Claire is proud of our partnership with the American Red Cross of Western Wisconsin and thankful for the opportunity to share in this special occasion and present the awards for Adult Good Samaritan to Pat Brauner and Law Enforcement Braveheart to Trooper Craig Larson.
Okay, I'll say something. I just wanted to say thanks for the award. I think Pat and I both agree. We were just out there, we did our job, and very glad that everybody was able to walk away safely. So thank you guys.
Do you know someone who is there to help at a moment's notice? Someone who's dedicated their life to helping others? Tonight, we introduce you to our 2012 Hero of a Lifetime.
In 1971, John Haugen took his first step to follow his father and grandfather as a volunteer firefighter.
I was home recuperating from surgery, and the siren kept blowing, and that was a sign that they needed more help. So I just went down to the city hall, and they told me where the fire was. I drove out there, and I got on the fire department immediately.
So why do you like it so much? Why do you do it?
Just to help people.
Haugen has retired as chief of the Osseo Rural Fire Department after 32 years, but he continues serving as an assistant chief.
They're a great team. We are what I would describe as a very aggressive fire department for volunteers. When Osseo goes to an incident, we're going to be working. We're not going to be standing around. We're going to get the job done in the best way that we can.
He also implemented the Jaws of Life and training.
The interstate brought us into many situations that we were not prepared for. We were forced to get that training.
Even people who have learned CPR should take classes again to learn the latest techniques.
It's very important. It has really changed from my first training. Now it's completely different. If you think you know how to do it, you should probably take a refresher and also a defibrillator. You should know how to operate one of those.
Haugen often worked with the Red Cross, which provides services for people who have lost their home in a fire.
Sylvia was a representative from Red Cross for people that would lose their home in a fire. It was really handy because I could call her and say, well, we need some help. And she would set up, for displaced people.
His Red Cross award was supported by colleagues and family, but Haugen feels unworthy in receiving it.
I feel there's lots of people that have done way more than I've ever done or ever will do.
Here to present this year's Hero of a Lifetime Award is Dr. Brad Garber on behalf of American Family Insurance.
I like your purple shirt. Think maybe our wives got together or something?
I like your purple shirt.
His wife had a birthday yesterday. Mine's today. My wife's today. So, they kind of get together. Well, good evening, everybody. What a great experience to be able to be here together and honor all these heroes this evening. And there are a lot more heroes here than what we have up on the stage tonight, believe me. As a member of the board of the Western Wisconsin chapter of the American Red Cross and a good friend of this gentleman, I have the privilege tonight to introduce him as Hero of a Lifetime for 2012. I wanted to say something about Dr. Meyer. He's responsible for me getting a pat down and when I go through the security at all the airports. He put in a left knee about 2 years ago. So I kind of wanted to bug him a little bit, but he didn't show up. And he's been a friend for years. So. Most of the time our firefighters go out, and it's a thankless job because when those sirens go out of town, geez, that thing's breaking. When those sirens go out of town, those of us that are in the community, we don't know where they're going, and we don't know when they come back what they've been doing. And many times, it's not infrequent that they're putting their lives on the line for somebody that we know, for us. And so that's why I say we've got a lot of heroes here tonight. And they're all to be recognized. I was glad to see all these people from Osseo so they could stand up and be recognized. John Haugen has been a member of the fire department at Osseo for 40 years. I think they made a mention he retired. I don't think he's retired yet. He was chief for 32 years and recently retired from that position, but continues to function with the department. He's highly respected by all those in the department, especially those that have served with him and under him. And he's always been extremely concerned about the safety of his crew and those that work with him. He's always functioned as a team member. He wouldn't have those do things that he wouldn't or couldn't do. And maybe now he's getting a little bit older, he might be backing off, I don't know. Hopefully. He's always really concerned about outfitting his crew with the latest and the best as it could be afforded. And was extremely keen on their education and training. And so he's really been really been instrumental in establishing a real professional crew in our community. And we've been very, very fortunate to have him as a member of the fire department and all these guys that are here tonight in their blue shirts, you know. Now, when I've been up here 3 out of the last 4 years, and so I'm getting to be a fixture for this thing. But when trying to put this together and having something to say about John, I ran across something that his daughters put together for his retirement from chief party, and I want to read this to you if I can get through it. I've read it 6 times. I've come to tears 5. So if I crack up a little bit, so be it. We remember the early days when the fire phone would ring, and we felt a great sense of pride knowing our dad was going to help someone who needed it. We would eagerly run out into the yard, hoping the fire trucks would drive past our house with the lights and sirens, sometimes giving us a deep, Pierce-only honk. As little girls, we could not imagine anyone more able to help. The strongest, bravest, fix-anything man we knew, our dad. Even at a young age, we had the sliver of what if. We knew the risk. What if he didn't come home? What if that half-finished supper, unopened birthday gifts we had carefully chosen, or church service which started with us as a family never got completed? What if your call spot was left vacant forever due to the call? We worried about you because even as young girls, we knew in our hearts that you would take the most dangerous risk yourself before asking one else to. We clearly recommend that sinking feeling laying in bed at night, listening to the sirens and hoping and praying that you would make it home. Sometimes we would wake the other saying, "Is there a fire? Did Dad leave?" We would eventually drift back to sleep and wake with relief when we heard your truck pull in the driveway. As we got older, we would run as quickly into your room as you were running out to lay in bed with Mom and listen to the scanner. You didn't know, but we all kept track of what truck you were in and would say, "That's Dad." We'd wait until we heard the fire trucks returning to the station, anticipating the words 321, returning to base. We would look forward to your return home, where you would sit in the rocking chair and tell us the story of your adventure. We could tell by the smell of your clothes and the color of the soot what kind of fire you had responded to. By the times you returned home and didn't say anything were the hardest, you would hug us, and we knew you were mending the wound you sustained in your heart from whatever you had just seen, heard, or smelled. We realized that you never knew when you left home what you were going to be part of, but you answered the call without hesitation time and again. We know that the cavern created from what you've gone through is deep, but we are thankful to God that you've been able to fill it with your faith in God and love for us all. We know you have been with people and shared the worst days of our lives, and although it hasn't been easy on you, we can't think of a better person for God to use as an instrument of his love and compassion, sometimes supporting and treating them with a beautiful respect while their soul leaves this life. I might make it. Dad, we admire the courage and commitment you have exemplified in your service to the Osceola Fire Department and to our family for so many years. Thank you for teaching each of us to be instruments of change in the lives of others. Each day we strive to project the values you have instilled in us. We each have chosen professions which we feel make a difference to someone and hope that we can leave a legacy half as meaningful and strong as you have. We love you. Boy, doesn't that say it all? And he and I co-grandpa 3 beautiful grandchildren.
Thank you, Brad. As in the video, I don't feel deserving of this. I didn't do anything any different than anybody else that would have gotten voted in for 32 years. It was a railroad deal. They looked around. Nobody stood up. Nobody raised their hand. Secretary cast unanimous ballot for Haugen. I had hair then. And if you want to lose your hair, you have 40 firemen to keep track of. And you take your helmet off and you go like this. And I had a couple guys say, don't do that. I want to thank the Red Cross for this award. Time has gone really fast. In fact, I don't know where it's gone. I enjoyed being the chief, even when it was not good. And we've had that. Osseo has the interstate that comes through, and I don't know what it is, but we're a magnet for disaster. For you people who have scanners, we're on the interstate all the time. And one reason I retired, my dad said, you know, the law of averages, they're going to catch up with you. When we're out there, everybody watches everybody else's back. We're a pretty close-knit team. And we're all in the brotherhood. Firemen understand that word, brotherhood. You go, I go. And we're tight. And I hope it stays that way forever. I'm very proud of our department going to Alabama, helping out. That was tremendous. And these guys are true heroes. And like Brad said, this room is full of heroes. And I thank the Red Cross for recognizing the heroes. I appreciate this very much. I want to thank my wife. She's been very understanding. And come home and your clothes are just black, and she gets them clean. But, and I never knew until I retired as chief what an impact it made on my daughters. I never realized that. And I guess if I influenced them in the vocation that they chose, they're both in fields in teaching. I'm very proud of them. They help other people at a very young age, and I hope the kids learn from them and make the right choices in life. With that, I'm going to be quiet because I usually don't talk very much. You can ask any of the firemen. I usually don't say much. And when I was the chief, I usually had 4 or 5 people after the incident I would have to apologize to because in the heat of the moment, I yelled at them. Thank you very much.
I think you can all agree that one after another we've heard some pretty amazing stories tonight, and I just want to congratulate again all of our 2012 Brave Hearts and Real Heroes. Let's give one last big round of applause for everyone here tonight. I also want to thank again Nancy Schuster and Donna Brauner for sharing their stories with us tonight, and thank everyone else for joining us to honor our very own heroes and to support our local Red Cross. Now, there's one more piece of video to watch tonight, but before we take a look at that, I would like to suggest that everyone follow the American Red Cross chapter on Facebook, our local chapter, and you'll see some pictures from tonight's event on their Facebook page. Please buckle up and drive safely, and thank you again, everyone.